Hello and welcome to our special Friday night sports edition of The Drum. I'm Steve Cannane. It's just one more sleep before the dual grand final weekend is upon us. The AFL replay between Collingwood and St Kilda in the NRL. Will the other Saints be able to break a 31-year drought? And we'll find out why our Commonwealth Games athletes aren't afraid of snakes under the beds. Our panel tonight, actor, writer and St Kilda fan Rhys Muldoon. Former Hawthorne player Nick Holland joins us from Melbourne, and a little later we'll also be joined on the panel by Richmond Tigers fanatic Waleed Aly. Well, it was an outcome few predicted and Melbourne football fans haven't seen since 1977 either. St Kilda and Collingwood will meet for the second time in 7 days after last Saturday's drawn grand final. The big question is who will handle the emotional and physical toll that comes with having to play another grand final. Nick, how hard would it have been for the players this week?
Yeah, it was tough. We saw immediately after the game Nick Maxwell's comments. He said he was devastated by it and the AFL had to change the rules so that there was extra time. You looked over at the St Kilda camp and Brendan Goddard, he was more relaxed. He said, well, I'm going to have to change my holiday plan. So St Kilda seem to have won that war there. They seem to take it better mentally. But during the week, it's been a pretty subdued week down here in Melbourne. The attention is taken away from the Collingwood St Kilda players and it's been taken up by the announcement of Gary Ablett going to the Gold Coast Suns, of course. Also James Hird, coach of Essendon, and also Bomber Thompson. He's said that he's got burnout and may not be there next year. So I think that's been good for the players. They've been able to build up quietly and we're all now looking forward to a big game. And I know, Rhys, you'll be hoping the Saints will get home.
Rhys, who do you think will handle it better?
Well, obviously, I mean, you know, I must declare that I am a Saints, utterly unbiased manner. But I do most sincerely believe this, apart from my obvious allegiance to the St Kilda Football Club. I think, as Nick mentioned, I think that when that siren went and you saw all of the Collingwood players just collapse and you saw basically the St Kilda players go straight to a huddle. Just not long after the vision we're just watching right now, the Saints went straight to a huddle,
and look at Goddard. You could see him there. You know, he was just getting on with it already, wasn't he? He wasn't lying on the ground or anything. He just, you know, he looked quite resigned. OK, well, that's it. First stage over. We'll get on with it next week.
That's right, because, I mean, as a long-time Saints supporter, I know that how deep that scar tissue is in the St Kilda Football Club and that we are literally, I think, one of the strangest clubs in the history of the world. Normally, our history is such a litany of being able to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, but I think this modern St Kilda unit is so unbelievably disciplined and the players so incredibly well drilled. I think they've got nothing to look forward to but glory.
Nick, can we read too much into those, first 5 minutes after the match? Because I heard Stan Alves on Offsiders on Sunday morning, who played in 1977, played for North Melbourne when they won a grand final replay. He said that, yes, immediately afterwards it didn't look good, but Collingwood pulled it together pretty soon after. They attended their team dinner that night, and he said that Mick Malthouse was saying all the right things.
Yeah, Mick Malthouse has certainly come out, got on the front foot and said, OK, this is what we're going to do this week, and he's taken it away from the players. So they've relaxed and they're putting a positive mindset on it. So I expect them to come out. The key thing is, and it's going to be a battle of the coaches, who learnt most from last week's game. And I think if you base it on that, you see Collingwood came out of the blocks, they were flying, and it looked like, OK, St Kilda aren't going to get it back into this game. Then they just held the game up and slowly clawed their way back into the contest. So the Saints definitely would have learnt a lot from the game, but then you also got to take into account the fact that Chris Dawes had 4 shots a goal and didn't get one, and Travis Cloke also missed a couple of vital goals. So it's going to be even, and it's going to be a tough contest. I've actually changed my mind, and I think the Collingwood players, the younger players, that had experience for the first time in the grand final last week will come out and will take it a bit better and will actually go on and win this week.
OK, well, let's have a look at some of that footage from 1977 when North Melbourne did play Collingwood. And, of course, that was the last drawn grand final in the VFL, it was known as then, of course. Previously, this happened in 1948, then 1977, and again this year. And then soon up here, see, that's the final, the siren going there, Rhys, of the 1977 game. And then we cross to the replay. which North Melbourne won. And Stan Alves was saying that Barassi famously pulled him in after that game and said, you know, how lucky are we? How lucky are we? We get a second chance at it.
Yeah, and I know that he also trained them incredibly lightly that week. It was just very much, you know, it wasn't sort of like drilling them, anything like that. It was just like, go and get it, boys. And I've just got a couple of interesting stats on those drawn grand finals. For example, the team lower on the ladder at the end of the home and away season has won both of those replayed grand finals. This is, you know, I'm mounting my St Kilda argument, of course.
Yeah.
But, and the other one is the team that trailed at three-quarter time in the grand final went on to win the replay.
Right.
You know, so there's a few things like that.
Now, is that a large sample size, Rhys, too?
There's... Yeah, it's a galaxy bowl.
Everyone's looking for an omen, and the Collingwood fans are saying that the last grand final, it wasn't in September, because Collingwood get the Collywobbles in September. They actually won because of the extra week, because of the tied game between Essendon they tied. Collingwood tied with West Coast, and then the game was actually played in October, and Collingwood were able to win. But everyone is looking for an omen. But what it comes down to is the key matchups on the field. And last week we saw Dane Swan. He's the sort of tough go-getter. He was able to be subdued a bit by Clint Jones in the second half, and Lenny Hayes got on top of it. So that's going to be a key matchup coming up. Nick Riewoldt has a chance to make himself, you know, an out-and-out champion of the game by standing up and taking it by the throat. Once again, Preston Giacomo's not going to play, so it means young Nathan Brown is going to have to play on him, and it's going to be a tough game for him to back it up, because Nick Riewoldt would have learnt a few things on him. Plus, they took Maxwell out of the game by Jason Graham going down and sort of taking him out, not allowing him to be the third man over. So St Kilda would have learnt a lot from that, and expect to see Nick Riewoldt come out, and he could be on fire. Conversely, at the other end, Travis Cloke, geez, the pressure's going to be on him to kick straight, isn't it?
It sure will be. Nick, a fascinating thing that Crackers Keenan, the former North Melbourne player, said this week in an interview with the 7:30 Report. He said that after that 1977 grand final, in the week leading up to that particular game, that one of the players retired on the Thursday night at training. He said he wouldn't name who it was, but one of the players said, "That's it, I'm out." And then Barassi had to get onto him and to convince him to play again. But that gives you some kind of sense of the emotional roller coaster that these players are dealing with, given that they're all played a grand final and they've got to get up again for another one.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that, and we sort of go to the match winners, and Goddard was one of them, and he seemed to be he's a pretty laid-back type of guy, actually, but he seemed to be pretty laid-back, and you want those match winners to be like that. So a big moment, they can rise up to it. Conversely, we see that Leon Davis, who has the potential to be a match winner with his sneaky goals, and he did kick one, but he's been dropped and left out of it. The other one is Didak. He injured his shoulder last week. He's been playing with an injured shoulder, but he hurt it a bit more last week, so he's going to be under the pump a little bit this weekend. And you actually want those match winners up and firing, come the last quarter.
Nick, a couple of the players that I found particularly good, particularly on the Collingwood side, being the tragic that I am, having watched the replay a number of times, I thought Sidebottom was just amazing for the Collingwood club. For a guy so young to be that sort of confident, everything he touched turned to gold. I mean, the penetration, he was just fantastic. And I don't know if they'll put a tag on him or something, but I'm hoping they'll.
Now,
take notice of Sidebottom, I would suggest.
Waleed Aly has joined us off the interchange. Waleed, thanks for coming in.
I can't tell you how delighted I am to be here.
It's great to have you on. Now, we've just been talking about history, about 1948, 1977. Yeah. Rhys has been quoting from your sample size of 2. What can we learn from history, do you think?
I reckon just about nothing. It's completely... no, not as a general proposition. I think history's important.
But if you're going to get all nihilist on us, Waleed, I mean, brother...
But in this case, I mean, there's not that much history to draw on. And so I actually think it's more about this week, because this week has been a very surreal experience. I've been in Melbourne the whole week, and I don't think there's been that much. I don't think there's been that much discussion of the game, and I reckon it's really going to suit Collingwood, actually, because a lot of young kids, 7 players haven't played 50 games. They've played in the grand final now, and then this week's a bit more like an ordinary game, as much as that can be in a grand final. I reckon that's really going to suit them. So, I don't think it's about history. I think it's about the experience of this week.
So you don't think they'll be thinking about all those goals they miss? You don't think they'll be thinking about the fact that at half-time, the inside 50 count, they were ahead 21-4, and they haven't gone on to win that game?
Well, even at the end of the game, what was it, 60-odd inside 50s to 35. I mean, if St Kilda had won with 35 inside 50s, that would probably be a record low inside 50s for a victory. So, but I don't think the misses will be playing on their mind. They've been missing all year. That's just normal. And actually their kicking wasn't that bad. There were a lot of rush behinds in that total that made it look more inactive.
Yeah, but there was those crucial ones. It was that thing. It was like with the Geelong Hawthorne grand final when you saw Mooney spray one from like 10 metres out, and you just went, the footy gods aren't on your side today. And there was a bit of that going on with Collingwood.
That's true. And conversely, when they played Geelong, there were balls bouncing 25 metres out and rolling through.
Freakish, freakish.
Ridiculously.
But I would argue that a couple of those goals, one skillful goal by Didac that was like left foot, left pocket, which was just one of the most brilliant goals. Yeah. Unbelievable goal. Yeah. But then you've also got the Dale Thomas one, which was just like this mongrel torpedo that somehow got through. And I go, well, so you've got the luck as well as it all kind of balances out.
It does.
But it was certainly surreal. Like speaking, because I only got back from Melbourne on Wednesday and now I've got to fly back again tomorrow morning, But just seeing all these football fans just staggering around the streets looking post-nuclear. You know what I mean? Like, just going, what just happened?
And also, no parade, no grand final breakfast. Yeah. The media's not getting as excited about it because we've spent all our chips, We've done everything that you do in a grand final week, and now it's another one. What are we going to do? And another broadcast focusing on the grand final? It just doesn't work. So it's been a lot lower key.
So, Waleed, you think Collingwood's going to win, but who do you want to win? Who are you going to be barracking for?
I absolutely want St Kilda to win.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. We are brothers today.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. We all are.
Well, I'm a Richmond fan. You cannot have Collingwood win a premiership. The next year will be unbearable.
Yeah.
You need to understand just how horrible it'd be. All week I thought St Kilda would win. It's just lately, there's just something about the build-up just makes me feel that Collingwood will. So I think I'll be a sad man on Saturday.
Nick, who are you going to be barracking for?
I'm probably going to go for the Saints because you just can't bring yourself to go for the Pies. Geelong, the last couple of years have been humble winners. I don't think Collingwood can do that. They win a premiership, we'll be hearing about it for another 30 years until they win their next one.
Well, I do have to say, though, just to defend Collingwood, being there at the ground, and when the siren went, right, I was of the school of thought of just went awesome, another week of footy. I didn't feel deflated. I was just going one less winter without football. You know what I mean? That whole 6 months of no football, which I was just horrified by. We got another week of it. But also the mutual respect between St Kilda supporters and Collingwood supporters, I have to say, in Collingwood supporters' defence, was amazing. Everybody was just going there was a mutual respect going on at that ground. Well, maybe they have. They'll go home and brush their tooth or whatever,
Well, can I say just one thing? I'd be a little bit sad if St Kilda win just because I love the romance of St Kilda only ever having won one flag, and that being by a point against Collingwood. That's the ultimate footy story. And
I just want to win by 2 points.
That'll be trashed.
Yeah. Now, what about the selections? Leon Davis replaced by Tyson Goldsack.
Yeah,
what will that mean?
Good change, I think. I mean, Goldsack's a great in, I think. I mean, Leon, Malthouse has been very patient with him. That's just a lot of football people have just been going why has he been so patient with him? It's sort of just giving him every opportunity. And Davis didn't do much. I mean, he kicked a goal, but other than that, didn't do much. And Goldsack will be, I think, pretty solid. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he will. I wonder if it means the end of Leon Davis's career. Actually.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because this is a team that is going to win premierships now. I've already marked down Collingwood will win the premiership next year. There's no one else that's really going to get closer than I can see. It's an early bid, but nonetheless.
Sheesh.
And if he's not a grand final player, then what's his role there?
Nick, is that a good swap?
Yeah, well, I think Goldsack will come in to curb Lenny Hayes' influence. He is sort of able to be a shutdown player, so it's a good inclusion there. Leon Davis famously had no kicks, no possessions, nothing in the grand final against Brisbane back in 2003, I think it was. So he hasn't been able to perform on the big stage, but I can understand Mick Malthouse trying with him because he's got that excitement, that flair, and his goal was important, but really he just didn't give enough. The one that I was surprised about was Prestigiacomo not getting the call back. He certainly looked fit last week. He came out and said, I'm only 95% fit. Obviously 100% this week, but still they didn't choose the